McClellan in now at running back. Young going deep into the end zone. Oh!
That went into Florida territory. Rides the play action. Has plenty of time to crank it up and go downfield.
Watch how C.J. Stroud work. Look at the pocket. Look at the pocket. Watch what C.J. Stroud does with his hand. He turns him and directs him to that hole.
Richardson looking for ETN to block, which he does, and here goes Richardson. Long strider and keeps his balance. What a run by Anthony Richardson. Superman in.
What's up, NFL Draft fans? I'm Tate Dembesti with the TDTV, and today I'm going to bring to you my first mock draft post free agency. Now that we've got a better idea of team needs and the combine's over, so we know the athletic testing on these guys, I feel pretty confident in how I would make this selection at all 31 picks in the first round if I was the GM. So let's kick it off with the first pick, the Carolina Panthers. I gotta be honest, there's no chance I would have given up that much to go up to number 1. Now, I do think the Panthers were desperate for a quarterback. I understand why they got so aggressive, but to give up DJ Moore was a really big problem for me, because who is this quarterback going to throw to? You got to surround a young quarterback with help. And I think we've seen before that situation dictates a lot of the success that quarterbacks can have. I think you're putting a lot of pressure onto a young player to carry your franchise without any help around him. So I'm worried if I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. But you know what? It's my job to bring in the best talent. So at pick 1, we would select Bryce Young, who I think handles the chaos well. Bryce Young can make magic happen when a play breaks down. He does have his flaws, but he's a highly accurate quarterback who can scramble, who can avoid sacks, and who can make a perfect throw on the run. He does not have a cannon of an arm, but he can accurately throw to all levels of the field, and he's a good decision maker. I take Bryce Young specifically over C.J. Stroud because of the situation they were in college. Stroud had the best offensive line in front of him. He had the best wide receiver core to throw to. And Bryce Young, although he came from Alabama, which typically has the best of the best, he actually dealt with a subpar Alabama offensive line and no elite talents at the receiver to throw to this past year. And he still found great success under chaos, under pressure. He understands what is NFL open. He makes tight window throws, and he even throws receivers and tight ends open when they're covered by putting it back shoulder or putting it right where his guy can get it. So Bryce Young to the Panthers at 1. Now pick 2, the Houston Texans. They get to stay put. They don't have to be aggressive. They still get, to me, what is a 1B quarterback in this class, CJ Stroud. I have him right there with Bryce Young. They've got the same grade for me on tape. They just offer different things, which is why Bryce Young to me was a better fit for the Panthers. But when I look to the Texans and they have 2 good tackles in place, I think CJ Stroud is perfect. He's a really intelligent quarterback who can run an NFL offense, I believe. He can, again, throw to all levels of the field with accuracy. He's maybe the most accurate quarterback in this class, but to me, definitely the most intelligent, as he quickly makes it through his reads. He rarely makes bad decisions, and he's got some athletic ability that he displayed in the Georgia game, along with a couple other games, but it really shined on a national stage down there in that Georgia game. So I think CJ Stroud, with a good situation, is a perfect quarterback for the Texans. And number 3, the Arizona Cardinals, is where it gets really interesting. Do they stay put and pick their best player on the board? Well, for me, I'm looking for a trade. I think that the Las Vegas Raiders will be calling, the Washington Commanders likely, maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tennessee Titans. You've got a lot of people calling, but the easiest trade would be the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts can make sure that they get their guy, make sure that no one's able to jump them, and only give up a little bit, while the Arizona Cardinals can move back 1 spot, secure who they would have picked at number 3, but also pick up a few extra draft picks. So it's a marriage made in heaven, and I'm not sure what this trade will look like. I don't know how much it would take, but let's just say a round 3 pick from the Colts this year, maybe a round 2 next year. But I would get it done if I was both sides, and the Indianapolis Colts would move up to pick 3 to select Will Levis. I think Will Levis is still still at a top tier quarterback talent, but I do have him one tick below the top two guys. He has a 95 grade for me, whereas the top two have a 96 grade. I think Will Levis is worthy of pick 3. He has the best arm out of any of these quarterback prospects, right there with Anthony Richardson. Although Will Levis has a much more natural arm, I think. He has a much more accurate arm. There's no question about that. Levis has an amazing cannon like he showed against Florida. He showed on his TikTok on his knees, bombing it 50 yards and hitting the upright. And he's played in an NFL style offense. He's had a lot of success running the play action, turning his back to the defense, faking the run, and quickly getting back around to read what's going on and make an excellent decision throwing to the open man with accuracy. I think Levis, although he did struggle this past year, has put enough on tape and he has enough upside that he can really help this Colts team that's already got a pretty decent roster in place. A lot of people are going to bash Levis because of this last season, but he probably had the worst supporting cast in the hardest division, the SEC. He had a pressure rate of 37.8%. That is brutal, and his receivers just weren't getting open. So he carried a big load, but he still did put on some good plays on tape, and he really excelled in that 2021 season. Levis has done enough for me to be worthy of the number 3 pick. The Colts got to be happy with this one. And now the Arizona Cardinals, pick 4. They just moved back. They got to be loving life to acquire some extra draft capital and get Will Anderson Jr., who's a day one difference maker on the field and in the locker room. Will Anderson Jr. has said it himself that he's not scared to step on his teammates' toes and whip their butts into shape and make sure that everybody's focused on the singular goal of winning. And that's what this locker room needs when you've got a quarterback who's more interested in playing Call of Duty than leading this team and being an NFL quarterback. You really need other good locker room presences. And that's what Will Anderson is, but he is also, no doubt, a dominant player on the field who's been dominant since day one in Alabama. He led the nation in sacks this past season, and I think he can, day one, year one in the NFL, again, produce sacks. He's also a very good run defender. He's got so much power in such a small frame, so much athleticism. He's got some good refined hand techniques. He plays with great arm extension. He really reminds me of Khalil Mack. And so Will Anderson Jr. would be a home run pick for the Cardinals. I think he's one of the top talents and one of the top leaders in this draft. Pick 5, the Seattle Seahawks. They've got 2 first-round picks, so they've really got an option to swing big at pick 5. And Pete Carroll and the GM are known to take swings on some players with character issues. So who is that in this draft? It's the top talent, Jalen Carter. There's a lot of concern about Carter, understandably, after an accident stemming from the death of his teammate and of a Georgia staff member. From my understanding, they were racing, maybe intoxicated, and just making bad decisions off the field. And so that's going to be a concern for a lot of NFL teams, is who is Carter off the field? Is he willing to stay focused and do what it takes to be a professional? Especially when you get to the NFL, you've got so much more free time. You've got all the money you could ever dream of. Is he going to be focused and help his team get wins? Or are you going to have to worry about what he's doing off the field? Is he going to have a lot of controversy? Is he going to come in overweight, which he did at his pro day, coming in 9 pounds heavier than at the combine and couldn't even finish his position drill? So there is some concern with Jalen Carter, but when you watch the tape, this guy is a beast. He cannot be blocked when he doesn't want to be. Both pass and the run. He's got all the power and all the lateral quickness to blow past blockers and really affect the game day one for any team, any scheme. Now the Seattle Seahawks did just sign Draymond Jones, who plays a very similar role, but man, in a passing league, when we want people getting upfield and taking away the pocket from a quarterback, we want people that's getting that quarterback on the move. I just think that the Seattle Seahawks would love the idea of having Draymond Jones and Jalen Carter penetrating in nickel defense and wreaking havoc on opposing offenses. So I do think that not only will Jalen Carter likely be the pick at number 5, but it's definitely the way that I would go, as long as I felt comfortable with the man he was after some interviews. Pick 6, the Detroit Lions are on the clock, and they made a lot of moves this offseason that quietly help erase some of their team needs. They were desperate for cornerback coming into the offseason. However, they signed Emmanuel Mosley and Cameron Sutton, who can fill the position if needed. They signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They picked up David Montgomery at running back. So they've really done a lot to help take away these team needs. What I think they should do is go after best player available, and for me, that is Kalijah Kancey. Again, just like Jalen Carter, this guy from day one will wreck teams' opposing quarterbacks. He will take away the pocket to step up into and get quarterbacks on the move. He's got elite quickness and tons of power in such a small frame. A lot of people will be worried about the size of Clancy, and understandably, with arms only 30 and 5/8 inch, he's only 281 pounds. But you know what? He just dominates on tape, and you've got to trust tape over everything else. He did run a 4.67, which is just barely faster than Aaron Donald, who he's constantly compared to. And I don't think that's any coincidence. I think Kancey does have elite athleticism for an interior D lineman who can penetrate, and I just picture him getting quick pressures up the middle, forcing quarterbacks on the move right into Aiden Hutchinson's hands. So for the Detroit Lions, I think Kalijah Kancey is a perfect can't-miss prospect, and they've got another pick at pick 18 to keep rounding out that talent on that defense. Pick 7, the Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock, and even after some good offseason additions, they still have plenty of needs to fill. Now, I'm not sure that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy, but he is familiar with Josh McDaniels and he wants done in his offense. So I do think that the Raiders are looking to stick with him for now. So how do we best build a championship team around Garoppolo? You've got good players like Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones in place that are aging. You want to capitalize on their talents now. Max Crosby's in his prime. So I think you just build around Garoppolo and McDaniels. And if you don't like what you see, then next year you get aggressive, trade multiple first-round picks if you have to go up and select a quarterback. That way you've got a good roster in place and you're ready to win right away. Again, they have multiple needs. You could look to guard, interior D-line, linebacker, and cornerback. And I see a great cornerback talent on the board. My number one cornerback, although he is in the same tier as a couple other guys, but I think Christian Gonzalez is a great day one ready corner, but especially with a very high ceiling. Christian Gonzalez is a tremendous athlete. He ran a 4.38 40 at the combine, jumped a 41-inch vertical, and that athleticism shows on tape. He is silky smooth, running with receivers downfield. He has great quickness to break on underneath routes, really great feet to mirror receivers at the line. He's not the most physical corner, but he did put up 14 reps at 225, and he's 6'1", 197, so he's a big, strong cornerback. And I think you add in those athletic traits, he's got so much to work with. He's already a good player. I think the Las Vegas Raiders would love this pick. And after the offseason additions like Jacoby Myers, Philip Dorsett, O.J. Howard, and Austin Hooper, I would like to see the Raiders add to that defense. They've got a talented D-line. So add some secondary pieces and really try to challenge the passing game of other teams. The Atlanta Falcons are up, and I think as much as any team, they've done great at taking away needs. They didn't really sign big free agents other than Jesse Bates, but they did fill in spots that were liabilities. They added Caden Ellis to play off the edge. They added Calais Campbell and David Onyemata to play inside. Mike Hughes, who can play both slot and outside, depending on what you need. So I don't think this team is hurting as bad as before, but they do still need top-level talent at multiple spots. And wide receiver is one spot that comes to mind where I think this team could really use somebody to stretch the field, but also fit Arthur Smith's game. And Arthur Smith wants to have his receivers blocked. He is a physical team. He loves to run the ball. He ran as many 2 tight end sets as anybody in the league last year, and now he added Jonnu Smith to go along with Kyle Pitts. So a wide receiver that can add to the kind of offense that Arthur Smith wants to run and add a vertical element would be Quentin Johnston. Johnston out of TCU is a very physical wide receiver. He breaks tons of tackles and he's a great blocker, but what I love is his ability to get behind that defense. He ran a 4.48 40, but he looks even faster on tape as he had a tremendous season for TCU and helped lead that team so much further than most most thought they could go. He's great after the catch at using that speed to immediately get upfield and shed tackles. And his game has a lot more quickness and agility than most people give him credit for. I think he has a lot of potential at route running because he makes hard cuts and doesn't round his routes, and he's very explosive out of those cuts. At 208 pounds, he jumped a 40.5-inch vertical and had 11.2 broad jump. Those are great numbers for any wide receiver, but at 208 pounds, it shows some of that upside, and Johnston has shown it on tape. So I love the fit for Arthur Smith's offense. I love the element that he brings that they don't already have in a vertical athletic receiver, and I love the talent value at pick 8. Pick 9, the Chicago Bears are up after trading back with the Carolina Panthers. And look, I think this was a great trade for the Bears. They helped Justin Fields tremendously by adding DJ Moore. They acquired extra draft picks when they need a lot of help on this team. They also made some great aggressive signings. TJ Edwards, I would say, was a really great signing when you needed help at linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds, very aggressive signing. We'll see if it pays off. That's a huge contract, but you did have the money to spend while you have a rookie contract quarterback. And so I like the aggressiveness, and I like how they're going all in on Justin Fields. They're ready to build a championship team now, it appears. That's how they're going about this whole process from what I can see. So at pick 9 for the Chicago Bears, I think that they need to go best player available that still somewhat fits the team need. And to me, I'm looking at the defensive line. So I'm looking towards Myles Murphy or Nolan Smith. I have these guys rated right there neck and neck, and both of them would be a huge help to the Chicago Bears. Now for me, I think Myles Murphy is the bigger fit here because the Chicago Bears want to play a 4-3 defense. They want some powerful defensive ends. I think Nolan Smith can do a lot of different things and fill a lot of roles. He might be the better prospect than Myles Murphy. I've got him just above Murphy. But again, if I'm looking at a little bit more of a team fit, I think Murphy offers so much power, so much burst off the edge. He does flash some good hand techniques. He reminds me a lot of Trayvon Walker, except he's got more in his toolbox as far as pass rush techniques. And so I think Myles Murphy is a great pick for the Chicago Bears, who desperately need some pass rush help. They were one of the bottom teams in sacks last year, and they just need to get quarterbacks feeling that pressure. So Murphy in this 4-3 defense is a great addition to affect both the run and the pass with his power and his speed. Pick number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock, and this is probably my favorite pick of the draft. It fell perfect for the Eagles. If I'm making this selection for them, I would love this situation where the number 1 wide receiver on my board and a perfect fit for this team is available, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Smith-Njigba can come in right away and be a dominant slot receiver. And when you are the Philadelphia Eagles, who just competed for a Super Bowl last year, I'll be looking at how can we get right back to that Super Bowl and what's going to put us over the top so we don't lose it this time. And I think Jackson Smith-Njigba offers great route running, very trusty hands, elite quickness at the slot position. You've already got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown on the outside tearing it up. Well, why not add another threat where defenses just cannot guard all these guys? Smith-Njigba with his quickness and route running will create some real mismatches in the slot. Jalen Hurts would be thrilled about this pick, and Eagles fans should be too. This could really put them over the top. And you got a second pick in the first round to help maybe fill some holes for some of those aging players. Some guys like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox who could be on the way out here soon. But no worries, pick 30, we'll come back to that. Pick 11, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock, and the Titans are desperate for tackle help. They did just sign Andre Dillard, but I'm not sure that he's going to be a long-term left tackle. I'm not even sure if he won't be a liability right away. So if Malik Willis is the guy or if Ryan Tannehill is the guy, it doesn't matter. You've got to keep them upright. You've got to support them with some good tackles. And in this scenario, none of the tackles have been selected yet. So you can pick who you think is the perfect fit for your team. And for me, that's easily Paris Johnson Jr., who is an elite athlete with arms over 36 inches finishes. This guy's got so much versatility playing right guard and left tackle. And I would actually slot him in at right tackle to start while you see what you've got in Andre Dillard. And you know that Paris Johnson Jr. can play that right side of the line. And that's harder than most people think, to make a swap from one side of the line to the other. People think that whatever, you just flip them over to the other side and it doesn't change a thing. But changing your stance, changing your initial kick step is difficult for a lot of guys. Paris Johnson Jr., you know, can do it. You know that he could also go to left tackle in the long term if you think that Dillard wasn't the guy and you want to select a right tackle in the future. So Paris Johnson Jr., with his elite athleticism, his great protection that he offered CJ Stroud on the field at Ohio State, and his versatility, is a perfect selection for the Tennessee Titans, who again just desperately have to select an offensive tackle if I'm them. If I was building a team and filling out a roster, I just don't think that there's any bigger need than to make sure that you've got at least adequate tackle play. I mean, you just can't be bottom of the barrel tackle play. So Titans, they've got a lot of needs, to be honest. They are not looking too hot as a full roster, but this one, clear pick, Paris Johnson, and you've shored up your right tackle position for now and potentially a left tackle of long term. Pick 12, the Houston Texans are on the clock, and after selecting CJ Stroud with their first pick, I think you've got to help surround Stroud with more talent. They got a good left tackle and right tackle. They just extended Laramie Tunsil to a massive deal, biggest in tackle history. Titus Howard ended up being a good tackle for them. And so for me, I'm looking at running back, wide receiver, tight end. What's going to help CJ Stroud the most? Well, there is an elite running back on the board, but I don't see Bijan Robinson as quite enough of a value all the way at pick 12. I do subscribe to the belief that running backs, you can get them late. So again, tight end is also not a position of value necessarily this high in the draft. You see them quite often come into the NFL and not make an impact day one, although I do think there's some tight ends in this draft that definitely will make an impact day one. I just think that I lean towards a position more of value with a great talent left on the board, the last remaining elite wide receiver talent, Jordan Addison. Addison won the Belindikoff Award at Pitt, and he was a great receiver for Caleb Williams in USC. He's put up great stats at both places with very smooth route running. He's a very smooth athlete. He can offer a vertical threat and do a lot of the dirty work underneath. A lot of people are worried about his weight. I'm not too concerned because he reminds me so much of Devontae Smith, and he just avoids press so well. He's got such good footwork, good hand fighting. He's not going to easily be jammed up on the line. So great route running, good trusty hands, and a perfect target to add to CJ Stroud and that new offense in Houston. I know that they signed Robert Woods and Noah Brown, but I do think that the Texans still need a potential number one or at least more talent in that wide receiver room. So Jordan Addison is my selection at pick 12. Now, pick 13, if the New York Jets can hang on to this pick while acquiring Aaron Rodgers, and I would be very adamant on that if I was the GM for the New York Jets, I'd be saying, look, are you really going to let Aaron Rodgers just retire for you, Packers, and not pick up anything for it? I don't think so. I'll give you my second round pick, maybe a day 2 pick next year, whatever it takes, but I don't want to let go of pick 13, and I want Aaron Rodgers in the building. So assuming that Rodgers is the quarterback, we want to keep this 39-year-old upright. We do not want him getting hurt. So I am hoping that Mekhi Becton can stay healthy at the left tackle position. If not, you've got Elijah Vera Tucker, who's taken snaps successfully at left tackle, and you've got Dwayne Brown, who can come in. So I think I'm looking towards the right tackle. I want to have 2 dominant tackles if they can stay healthy, and 2 colossal tackles in Mekhi Becton and the 6'8", 374 DeJuan Jones. DeJuan Jones reminds me so much of Orlando Brown because he's a technician with alien arms. His arms are so long, he can impact a rusher from so far away, and he only needs to get 1 massive palm on you to really slow you down because he's so powerful. I'm telling you, he's a technician because he's got so many hand techniques. He doesn't just strike up the middle with 2 hands. He's not just every time doing the Packers snatch. He can punch with 1 hand. He will snatch and trap pass rushers off the edge edge like he did to Isaiah Foskey at the Senior Bowl. DeJuan Jones is a gigantic technical master at the right tackle position, and he's a better athlete by far than Orlando Brown was coming into the NFL. And Brown just signed a big contract for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think at pick 13, Jones is a perfect fit and a great value for the New York Jets. Pick 14, the New England Patriots are on the clock. Now the Patriots, I think, still need wide receiver help, even after picking Juju Smith-Schuster up and Mike Gesicki to help add another target for Mac Jones. They do still need wide receiver, but Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba are the only wide receivers I'm taking this high. There's no way I'm taking another this high. They also need right tackle help because I don't think Riley Reif is good enough to really hold that position down. I think he's more of a swing tackle if someone gets injured. But I see a desperate need at interior D-line and even pass rush off the edge. And to me, a versatile piece like Tyree Wilson is a perfect fit. Tyree Wilson is so powerful. He's got so much potential in that huge wingspan and that athletic body. He's shown some flashes on Saturdays of some good hand techniques to finish pass rush reps for hurries and quarterback sacks, but he is still a raw prospect. I think Bill Belichick and his coaching staff can get a lot out of him. I think he can be a great nickel pass rusher next to Christian Barmore. And I think he's a perfect fit to be a 5 technique in this 3-4 defense that New England runs. So I love Tyree Wilson's fit and I like the value. I don't have him as high as most people. I just don't think he did enough technique-wise, and I don't think he flashed enough on Saturdays. But at this point in the draft, to pick 14 and not at pick 5 like a lot of people have him for Seattle, I think this is a great fit, and I would love to see what Bill Belichick will do with this guy. Pick 15, the Green Bay Packers are up, and now that Jordan Love is on the hot seat following up Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer, and Brett Favre, Hall of Famer, who has been the quarterbacks for the past 30 years in Green Bay, Jordan Love needs some help if he's going to have some success. I don't think he has to live up to those guys, but he can't be a subpar quarterback or this fan base is going to have some problems. So if I'm the GM and I want people to buy into Love, I want Love to feel confident, and I want to get some wins, I'm helping him with some passing options. And again, like I said with the last pick, I don't see a value at wide receiver right here. So I'm looking to Darnell Washington, the massive tight end out of Georgia. This guy day one will help in the run game by driving defensive ends off the ball. I mean, he's a 6th offensive lineman out on that field, and he takes pride in his blocking, and he is talented with the power in his legs, the drive he has, and pretty good technique to block out in space and in line. So he's going to help Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon really dominate that run game and take some pressure off of Jordan Love. But he's also a phenomenal pass catcher in the red zone especially. This guy can make incredible catches outside of his frame. He tested as a much better athlete than most people expected, but he showed glimpses of it while he was at Georgia, hurdling over defenders and being a seam threat. He's got good quickness, great explosion, and to me, he is the best tight end in this draft class, right there with Dalton Kincaid. But when I look at what's best suited for the Packers, and I think about how they want to run heavy with Jones and Dillon, I think Washington is just a no-brainer at pick 15. The Washington Commanders are up with pick 16, and this team needs a lot of help, but they've got a lot of star talent in place already on this team, both offensively and defensively. You've got guys like Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, who had a really great standout rookie year. On defensive side, you've got Chase Young, who should be coming back healthy and dominating, Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne in the middle. I really like a lot of the talent that's already in place in Washington. The biggest question mark is quarterback. Unfortunately, I don't see a value at quarterback at this spot in the draft. I do think Sam Howell showed a little bit of potential, and it seems like the Commanders are interested in rolling with him. I don't hate the idea of seeing what you have in Sam Howell. You've got Jacoby Brissett, who can start a few games if need be. And if you don't like what you have in Howell this year, you get aggressive and trade up and make sure you get one of the top quarterbacks in a loaded class next year. A lot of talk about how good and how talented the class is next year. So I don't hate being patient patient by the Commanders in continuing to build this roster. Their biggest needs outside of quarterback are center, guard, tight end, and cornerback, which is where I'm going to go for this draft. I'm going to go with Devon Witherspoon, a physical press corner on the outside who can both play zone and press. And this guy is a headhunter. He's only 181 pounds, but he plays much bigger than that. And he brings a great competitiveness to this defense that's ready to be one of the best in the NFL as soon as they get some secondary help. So I love Witherspoon, what he can do in this defense specifically. And I love the team building philosophy to build your roster up, see what you have and how, and get aggressive next year if you don't like what you see. Pick 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock and they need tackle help at both left and right tackle. They could also use a third wide receiver, a linebacker, some interior D-line, and cornerback help. But I really like what Kenny Pickett showed in his first year, and I liked his tape coming out of college. So I think Pickett's worth building with. You got Najee Harris, a great running back, if you could open up some lanes for him. So I'm going with Peter Skoronski, a great run blocking left tackle who's powerful and explosive. There's a lot of concern about his arm length, understandably so, at 32.25 inch, but he showed plenty of foot speed to mirror. He shows excellent technique, the ability to anchor, and especially what excites me, the ability to move defenders off the ball. I think Skoronski does it all at the tackle position, but I really like to envision him opening up lanes for Najee Harris and keeping Kenny Pickett upright. I really love the philosophy that the Pittsburgh Steelers have gone with here to add Nate Herbig and Isaac Suamalo into their interior O-line. Now I think you get a great left tackle and Peter Skoronski, who day one is ready to help your team. And all of a sudden, this offense has a lot of potential. The offensive line was their biggest weakness last season, and it's starting to look like a strength. So on to the Detroit Lions at pick 18. With the Lions' first pick, I had them taking Kalijah Kancey, a great interior pass rush presence, somebody who can get upfield quickly and really disrupt the quarterback's pocket. You add that to Aiden Hutchinson, Josh Pascal, who can play a little bit outside and inside, and James Houston, the edge rusher, who flashed late in the season, although he played less than 200 snaps. I would still like to add another edge presence because, as the Eagles shown, you can't have too much pass rush help. So let's go with Nolan Smith, who I considered way up at pick 9 for the Chicago Bears. I think this is a tremendous value for Nolan Smith, and I think he's the perfect fit for the physical team and the culture that Dan Campbell wants to create in Detroit. Although Nolan Smith is tremendously undersized, he has shown plenty of power, just like Will Anderson, to hold the play side edge, to not be washed out, and to really affect the run in a multitude of ways. But what I really love about Nolan Smith's game is not only his discipline and the character he brings, but his athleticism. We saw it on display at the Combine, running a 4.39 40, jumping out of the gym. Georgia doesn't really let their edges line up in wide nines and just rush the passer. They make these guys play disciplined, run-first football. And so I would love to see what Nolan Smith can do in an NFL defense, really getting after the quarterback. I think there's plenty of potential there. He's shown plenty of hand techniques. He's shown the burst, the bend, the cornering, and the power to give you everything you need in an NFL defensive end. As I said before, I think Nolan Smith is perfect for Campbell and what he wants to create, the culture. So I just love this fit, and I cannot wait to see Nolan Smith, Aiden Hutchinson, Kalijah Kancey, and Josh Pascal in a nickel defense, third and long, getting after quarterbacks. They will wreak havoc. Pick 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock, and they got to be loving if this situation happens. Arguably, the top left tackle just fell in their lap, Anton Harrison. Harrison is a very athletic tackle. At 315 pounds, he ran a 4.98 40. He's got plenty long arms at just over 34 inches, and he really learned this past season how to use those arms effectively with single hand punches, with snatch and trap techniques. He's really starting to refine his game as an elite pass blocker, that athleticism and technique coming together. And his biggest concern, from what I've heard in his earlier tape, was his ability to anchor. But I can tell you, I did not see any of this on his 2022 tape. He played some top talent like Felix Anaduke Uzama, And there was a little give and take in that battle, but I really liked what I seen from Anton Harrison. That athleticism to mirror and the strength to anchor. I think he's perfect in today's passing game. And Kyle Trask needs somebody to keep him upright. You've got Tristan Wirfs on the right, but that left side's looking pretty bare now that Donovan Smith is out of the door. So you shore it up with Anton Harrison and give Kyle Trask or potentially Baker Mayfield, who just signed, a real opportunity to sit in the pocket and deliver accurate passes downfield without pressure quickly getting on top of them. Pick 20, the Seattle Seahawks are up with their second pick. And look, if Jalen Carter is a good man off the field, like we all hope he is, then they hit a home run with that first pick. You've got Draymond Jones and Jalen Carter wreaking havoc up the middle. You've got Tariq Woolen, a fantastic rookie cornerback that they picked up last year, but that other side's a little bare. So for me, I think the Seattle Seahawks need to look towards cornerback. Wide receiver and cornerback are their biggest needs I've got listed, but I don't see a wide receiver talent worth taking at pick 20. I think is a big drop off after the first 3 wide receivers taken, but there's plenty of cornerback talent left on the board. So after Witherspoon and Gonzalez come off the board, they get to pick from a few first round cornerbacks still available. And in my opinion, Joey Porter Jr. is perfect for their scheme. Everybody knows Seattle loves to run plenty of cover 3. They did change that a little bit late last season, running more cover 6 and cover 2 zones. They're still extremely zone heavy team. And to me, Joey Porter Jr. is perfect in his zone scheme. This guy diagnoses route combinations and reads the quarterback's eyes beautifully, and he makes tons of plays on the ball. Unfortunately, that doesn't show up in his interceptions. He just drops a lot of passes, but he gets those long arms in to break up plenty of passes. And with his high level of athleticism, I would love to see what he can do across the field from Tariq Woolen, potentially taking away all outside threats between the two. So Joey Porter Jr. and Jalen Carter make a great first day for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, pick 21, thanks to the Dolphins forfeiting their pick, is the Los Angeles Chargers. And the Chargers need help at a lot of positions. Interior D-line is a glaring need. Cornerback, they could use some help. They need a third wide receiver to go along with Keenan Allen, who's aging, and Mike Williams. But to me, it's vitally important that you keep Justin Herbert, your franchise quarterback, upright and healthy. So let's go grab a right tackle. They've already got Rashawn Slater, who's proven to be a great Pro Bowl talent at the left tackle position. And I think there's still a potential Pro Bowl talent left at right tackle. This is the last first round worthy tackle left on my board. I think it's a perfect fit for Darnell Wright, who day one has the hand techniques and the understanding of the game to come in and start at right tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers. He's a powerful dude who has a phenomenal anchor, and he's a really impressive athlete. At 333 pounds at the combine, Darnell Wright ran a 5.0140. That's really impressive. Even jumping a 9.6 broad jump shows his explosiveness. I think he's got a high ceiling and a high floor. He's a perfect right tackle fit for the Los Angeles Chargers. Pick 22, the Baltimore Ravens are up. They need guard, wide receiver, and cornerback help, assuming they're able to bring Lamar Jackson back. And I do have a feeling they'll be able to get that deal done. They placed a non-exclusive tag on him, so if somebody were to try to sign Lamar Jackson, they will receive their 2 first-round picks from the opposing team, or they have the ability to match that contract and bring Lamar Jackson back. So I just don't see Jackson going anywhere, but if something does happen, they'll get some draft capital to be able to redirect and right the ship. So like I said before, big drop off after the first 3 wide receivers. I don't see that being a fit as far as talent level goes here. Guard is debatable. O'Cyrus Torrence, I think, is a phenomenal guard who can really anchor well. He'd be great in that run game. But to me, I look at cornerback and I get excited when I see a great talent left on the board who could play opposite of Marlon Humphrey and make this a phenomenal secondary again. I would try to get back to the dominant Baltimore Ravens defense that they've had so much success with in the past, and I think Deonte Banks is just the man to do that. Banks is an extremely impressive athlete, weighing nearly 200 pounds. He ran a 4.35 40. He had a 42-inch vertical, and he jumped 11.4 in the broad. I mean, these numbers are phenomenal, some of the best in the whole draft, and he brings along physicality and skill to match that athleticism. Banks is really good in press. He's shown the ability to play in both zone and man with much success, and he's just a very fluid mover at the cornerback position, and it's very important to not be stiff. And to me, he's just a perfect fit for any cornerback needy team, and he falls right into the laps of the Baltimore Ravens, who would be loving the fit and talent match. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are up with pick 23, and they need a lot of help. Wide receiver and cornerbacks are the biggest glaring needs to me, but you've heard it already. Not going to go over it. Wide receiver, not a fit here. Cornerback, there's still some talent on the board, and after his elite combine, I think DJ Turner is a perfect selection. Unfortunately, he's shown a few issues in zone diagnosing what's in front of him, but from my understanding, Jim Harbaugh really raved about the man he is, the character, and the dedication he shows. So I think that he'll learn to grasp route combinations better, and I think you'll start to see him excel more as he gets more reps. But a 4.26 40 is an incredible number to show at the combine, and this athleticism shows on his tape. This isn't just a track guy. He's shown that he can get beat at the line and has the speed to recover. He's shown quick, fluid feet to mirror at the line or to flip his hips a complete 180 if he opens up the wrong way and recover. DJ Turner is an elite athlete with elite potential at the cornerback position. I think the Vikings are in desperate need of help, even if he's not maybe the best fit for their scheme. The talent's there, the character's there. I think this is where they gotta go if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, and this is the way the board has fallen. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are up with pick 24, and this team needs a lot of help. Thankfully for Jaguar fans though, Trevor Lawrence showed plenty of talent and promise this past season. Evan Ingram even popped off, as well as Travis Etienne and some of the other offensive weapons they have. But Trevor Lawrence needs some help in his offensive line. They just lost Jawan Taylor, although I think they're looking for Walker Little to take that spot. I'm not sure I would feel confident in that. However, I don't see a right tackle fit at this pick. They also need some interior D-line, cornerback, and safety help. I'm just not sure that that's the most important thing when you've got a young franchise quarterback. I want to keep him upright, keep him healthy, and I want to make sure that he can thrive early in his career and keep building that confidence and building on the success he had last season. So I would select O'Cyrus Torrence, the powerful athletic guard from Florida. O'Cyrus Torrence has shown the ability to me to potentially be a Pro Bowl caliber guard at the next level. He is an absolute mauler in the run game, and his feet are just quick enough to do a little bit of mirroring inside and get quickly off the line into his pass sets, and he's got an incredibly powerful anchor. So you're not going to go through this man, and with some technique work, you're probably going to have some trouble getting around this man. So I think O'Cyrus Torrence is perfect to give Trevor Lawrence the ability to step up into the pocket and deliver accurate balls downfield, as well as open up running lanes for whoever the running back may be. I don't love taking a guard in the first round. I think later in day one, with a talent like this, it does make sense for the Jaguars with a big need. New York Giants are up, pick 25. Giants, again, are a team that needs a lot of help. They had a great season last year. Giants fans owe a lot of thanks to Brian Daboll, who got a lot out of Daniel Jones last season, his best season yet, no question. Saquon Barkley was healthy, and that defense showed the potential to be one of the better defenses in the NFL. So for me, I would try to build on to a strength in that defense and add to that D-line. Kayvon Thibodeau showed some incredible ability to get to the quarterback last year as a rookie. I really loved that selection. I thought he was neck and neck with Aiden Hutchinson as the best player in last year's draft, and they got him at pick 5. Well, now, if I'm the GM, I would be thrilled to get Felix Anudike-Uzomah to go across from Thibodeau and bring tons of pressure off that edge. He's a perfect fit in both the 3-4 outside linebacker position, and he can be a great threat off the edge in their nickel defense. Anudike-Uzomah showed a great ability to use his hands to shed the blocker, both in the run and the pass. He's got great burst off the line and a good stutter step inside to freeze the offensive tackle and open up the edge. He's got good strength to set a strong play side edge and displace the lineman into the backfield, forcing a cutback. But his best ability, no question, is to bend and corner at the top of the pass rush and really get back to the quarterback and finish his reps. I love Anudike-Uzomah even earlier in the draft, but it just just so happens that he fell to the Giants, where he's a perfect fit. If Felix Anudike-Uzomah is there at pick 25, you run that card to the podium. Pick 26, the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock, and they do need help at a few positions, but they did a good job this offseason to add talent at cornerback and wide receiver, two of their biggest needs, and two guys who no question will make great contributions in Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. So I really love what they've done this offseason so far. But to me, their biggest glaring need left on the team is interior D-line. I just don't think Neville Gallimore is going to get it done, and they could really use a guy to play in that A-gap. And there's a guy whose talent and fit matches might be just a little bit of a reach, but for the Dallas Cowboys needs, Keanu Benton is the perfect versatile interior D-line piece who can both generate some pass rush, as he showed at the Senior Bowl with quick wins in one-on-one and in the game, but especially in the run game. Keanu Benton is immovable one-on-one. He can truly be a two-gap player or a penetrator with great ball get-off. He's got long arms and a very strong upper body to stack and shed with ease. He flashes a powerful club rip or swim and a great bull rush. So typically, kind of like O'Cyrus Torrence, I don't think interior O-line or interior D-line is a great value unless you're talking about a pure pass rusher like Carter and Kalijah Cansey. I think Keanu Benton does enough in the pass rush game, and he does so much in the run. He's a good value this late in the first round and a perfect fit for the Cowboys. Pick 27, the Buffalo Bills are up, and they need a lot of help. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs carried way too much of a load last season. They just lost Tremaine Edmonds. They don't really have a great cornerback opposite of Tre'Davious White, and I'm not sure that Spencer Brown is a right tackle that can really start in this league. But when I look at the top players left on my board, I see Bijan Robinson, who's not necessarily the biggest need because they just added Damian Harris. I think Harris is plenty talented. I see Lucas Van Ness, but again, that's not necessarily the biggest need as they got some edge rush talent. And I see Cam Smith, who, like I said before, they don't really have a great option across from Trey White. I think Smith is in play here, but for me, I go Dalton Kincaid, again, one of the top talents on my board, and a fit at tight end where they don't have many threats. They need somebody other than Stephon Diggs. They added Deontay Hardy, who can be a good deep threat. You've got Gabe Davis, but he never really came on that strong last season. So I think add Dalton Kincaid, who's a super athletic tight end. He's very raw with not a whole lot of route running nuances on his tape, but uber athletic and a great ability to catch every ball thrown his way, both contested or outside of his frame. Kincaid can alleviate a lot of the pressure from Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and day one use his athleticism and trusty hands to really help open up this passing game. So for the Bills, I think they've got a potential Pro Bowl tight end in the future, especially as he gets a few years under his belt and starts to really understand route running more. Kincaid has all the potential in the world. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock at pick 28. I think the Bengals would have loved to have taken Kincaid, who was selected right before them. But now that he's off the board, what do? I think tight end's still a major need for them. Guard and potentially right tackle if La'el Collins never steps up. Running back is in question with Joe Mixon and all the controversy that's been surrounding him lately. Safety, Jesse Bates just walked out the door, although I don't see a top-notch free safety in this draft. And that's really the role that Jesse Bates played for them. So I go back to tight end where I do see a talent worthy, and that's Michael Mayer. A lot of people have Mayer as the first tight end in this draft. Now I can't get with that, but Mayer is worthy of a late first, early second selection. He's got great ability to block. He catches everything. He led the nation in contested catches with 17 this past season. He had 8 deep catches for 210 yards, which both led the nation as well. So both statistically and what I've seen on tape lead me to believe that Mayer is a great talent to add to this Bengals offense, who's already a major issue for the rest of the NFL. I think the Bengals can look to defense for the rest of the draft. Now, as I said, Mayer statistically is incredible, but he didn't show a whole lot of athleticism at the combine, and I didn't see athleticism on his tape either. So that's why I don't see him as a top tight end in this draft, but I do see him as a great value pick and fit for the Bengals at this selection. Pick 29, the New Orleans Saints are up. And the Saints have quite a few needs. They're selecting pick 29 from a pick they got from San Francisco, but really they would be selecting pick 10 if not for a trade they made with the Eagles. So the Saints are not as good as this selection suggests. They need help at guard and wide receiver. They need help at linebacker and cornerback. But I'm looking to the interior D-line and the edge that's got Cam Jordan aging. And I'm going to select a versatile piece in Lucas Van Ness that can both rush from the interior in nickel packages. He has so much power to his game. He has embarrassed linemen, driving both Peter Skoronski and Anton Harrison right into the quarterback, two of the top tackles in this draft. And he's got so much athletic potential, just crushing the combine. At 272 pounds, he ran a 4.58 40, but the crazy numbers were his 7.02 3-cone and his 4.32 20-yard shuttle. These are phenomenal numbers for any edge, but at 272 pounds, they really shot him up my board. Van Ness does not show any pass rush technique right now. He's very raw, and he never even started a game at Iowa. So I don't see him as a potential top 10 pick like a lot of media members suggest. But when you've got all those tools, the long arm, the incredible power, the great quickness, I think that a D-line coach would love the opportunity to coach him up. And as I said before, he's very versatile. He's got tons of reps playing in the B gap at Iowa. So I think that the New Orleans Saints are really a perfect home for him to learn from Cam Jordan, who is a power technician himself, while in his first year, he offers some help rushing from the inside. Pick 30, the Philadelphia Eagles are up. I had the Eagles taking Jackson Smith-Njigba with their first pick. So their offense is really incredible with the talent they have right now. But they do still need a guard after Isaac Seumalo left. They also need safety help after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson left for the Detroit Lions. And I do think Brian Branch is a potential draft pick at this selection. But Branch mostly played as the slot cornerback. And the Eagles have Avonte Maddox to fill their slot role. I think he's plenty good enough to continue that. And I'm just not sold that Brian Branch is a good enough fit in that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson role to be selected this high. So I'm looking to another need on the offensive side of the football to make this one of the best offenses in the NFL, even better than before. After losing Miles Sanders, I think Bijan Robinson is a perfect replacement. And to be quite honest, quite terrifying for the rest of the NFL. They just added Jackson Smith-Njigba, and now they're adding Bijan Robinson, and elite talent at the running back position to go along with Jalen Hurts. As a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I do not like the idea of playing this offense in the Super Bowl again. Robinson is a do-it-all running back who can run right through your face. He's got the agility to make you miss, and he's got the hands to catch out of the backfield. He is a perfect complement to Jalen Hurts' athleticism. You get some RPOs or just playing read options with these guys, and teams are really going to struggle because Bijan Robinson's ability to run up the middle and break so many tackles and even make big plays. He ran a 4.46 40, which is plenty fast enough to break a few long runs. I love what Robinson brings to any team, but my goodness, at pick 30 to the Eagles of all teams, that's just a terrifying fit for the rest of the NFL. Now, pick 31, my Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock, and I hate how the board has fallen. They desperately need right tackle help. They could also use wide receiver help after Mecole Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster out the door, but I do not see a talent worth picking at this selection at either position. Their other biggest need, no question for me, is interior D-line. Now, I don't see a true interior D-line prospect that I value at pick 31, but I see a versatile player, an elite athlete in Adetomiwa Adebawore. Adebawore is one of the best athletes we've ever seen at the combine. At 282 pounds, he ran a 4.49 40. At 282 pounds, he ran as fast as Jordan Addison. He also jumped a 37.5-inch vertical, showing plenty of explosion and power in those legs. Adebawore is very strong, very versatile piece that the Kansas City Chiefs don't have to put too much pressure on. I think you let him play on the inside in nickel situations beside Chris Jones, and Chris Jones is going to eat up most of the double teams. And you let him learn behind Charles Omenihu, who they just signed, and George Karlaftis, who they drafted last year. So I don't see Adebawore needing to fill a huge role early on, but I think by the time the playoffs come around and he starts to refine his technique a little bit more, he could be a great threat late in the Chiefs' run next year, and especially down the road. He doesn't anchor well enough against double teams to truly be an early down interior D lineman for me, but in nickel, he's plenty strong enough to hold his ground in one-on-one situations, and with a 4.49 40 and what he showed at the Senior Bowl, winning quick and often in the pass rush, I think there's a lot of potential to really disrupt quarterbacks from the inside alongside Chris Jones. So for the Chiefs, they still got a couple glaring needs, but they did pick up a great talent who's got potential through the roof that still fits a position of need. So that's all 31 selections for my mock draft. These are the top players left on PFF's board that did not make my draft. The most surprising one for people is obviously Anthony Richardson. And I do think that if I was a team like the Seahawks, the Lions, the Raiders, potentially even the Titans, I would consider trading into the back end of the first round to take a swing on Anthony Richardson. But I just did not feel like what I saw on tape was an early first round quarterback. Anthony Richardson has huge accuracy problems, and I'm not sure that he reads the field and plays the quarterback position the way an NFL quarterback should. He is many steps behind all the other top quarterback prospects in this class. Now, I understand that the ceiling is through the roof, and I do love the potential of him, but if I'm selecting in the top 15 picks, I just would not want to risk my job on Anthony Richardson. So I probably could have found a trade on the back end, but I wasn't sure which team to make it happen with, so I just picked for each team, and Richardson fell out of the draft. There are some other notable players here like Brian Branch, Zay Flowers, Broderick Jones, and Will McDonald that I think are potentially worthy of a first round pick, but for me, I just did not see a value and a fit to get them into the top 31 selections. I'll tell you right now, I did have a few favorite picks. When I look at the Eagles at pick 10, getting Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think that's a terrifying trio in their receiving core. Nolan Smith at pick 18 to the Lions, I think he is the exact kind of football player Dan Campbell wants, and I think about him opposite of Hutchinson along with Kalijah Cansey. This D-line can really wreck teams for many years to come. Anton Harrison to the Buccaneers and Joey Porter Jr. to the Seahawks are a couple more who just have so much talent and they fit a position of need. I would love to see these matchups for these teams. But of course, I did make all 31 selections, so I've not got a whole lot of gripes with this draft. If there are some picks that you hated, let me know in the comments. If there are some picks that you love, go ahead and share that in the comments as well. I'd love to hear what you guys think about my What Would I Do mock draft, where I make the selection in all 31 first round picks. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.